look at building a future-ready generation. Okay, what's that mean? Well, Dr. Edward Hess, who's a leading futurist, he wrote 65% of preschool children today will work in a job or a career that does not currently exist. 65%. Now, can we train students and business leaders on something that doesn't exist? Well, my guest today, Garry Moise, says, yes, we can. While we may not know what the job title is or all the requirements, schools and businesses have the ability to teach the skills needed to succeed in the future. So what are these skills? They're leadership, social cultural awareness, emotional intelligence, collaboration, critical thinking. Now, these are skills that must be taught from the earliest days in schools and reinforced in colleges and businesses because these skills are required regardless of your industry or your profession. Let's meet Garry. He is a TEDx speaker. He's the director of Marian University's Upward Bound Math and Science, and he's made teaching these skills his passion. Now, he is a life cultivator. And what a great title that is. Life cultivator, who focuses on personal growth, on leadership development, mentoring, and lifelong learning. Garry, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you. Good morning, Frank. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your program, your podcast, and good morning to you, and it's a pleasure to join you.
Well, we're just excited to have you, my friend. Share a little bit about your background. When we spoke, I thought it was very interesting, the path you've taken to get to where you are. So share some of that with us.
Yes, Frank, I was born in Haiti, and I've lived in the United States since after my high school days. And going to college, all of my post-high school education have been in the United States, particularly in the state of Wisconsin, where I still live. So I've had a 25-year history with the state of Wisconsin, that I also call home, because, I know more about Wisconsin than anywhere else on earth. I've been to many places here, met a lot of great people throughout my life. And I like to tell people I was born and raised in Haiti, but I grew up in Wisconsin. My adult life, I've been essentially in Wisconsin. Yes, granted I travel, but I've lived in Wisconsin, and I've only lived in Wisconsin and in Haiti. And so that's a little bit about myself. I've gone to college in Wisconsin, like I said, two different institutions. I started at Fox Valley Technical College in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's in the Fox Valley area, south of Green Bay. And further down, pursued my bachelor's degree and master's degree at Marian University, which is where later on I have started my career in higher education. And I've been working at Marian University since 2007.
Wow, that is excellent. It must have been quite a culture shock from Haiti to Wisconsin.
It is, but, get used to it and adapt to the new life and make something good out of it.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Now, Garry, you told me when we spoke the most crucial job of colleges and universities is to provide a strong foundation for graduates to become effective change makers. You very rarely hear that. So please elaborate on that. What's that mean?
So regardless of what a student decide to pursue, one of the things that they first keep in mind, in addition to their personal gain in terms of a career, in addition to the knowledge, the skills that they acquire, the financial opportunities, they have to keep in mind that there are change makers in their respective field of work. What does that mean? It basically is the ability to impact people. Whether or not we recognize it, we are providing services to different types of recipients. So it is important for us to start thinking about who are my service recipients. Now, in the world of business, corporate world, we call them customers. They are paying their clients and whatnot. But each and every one of us, based on what we do, whether it's directly or indirectly, we are impacting somebody. We are impacting the life of someone based on what we are called to do for them. Sometimes something planned well in advance, or sometimes it's something on the spot. So colleges, technical colleges, community colleges, universities, all higher education institutions, it is my belief for that for them to see or to recognize that they are training the next generation of change makers, people who will be impacting our communities, our country, our states, our country, and the world. The way the world is right now, what we are doing wherever in different parts of the world, in the United States, North America, etc., in Europe, there's something that each and every one of us get to do that impact the life of people in places far and far away from where we are. And that is why I focus on helping students understand you are being trained to be a change maker, somebody who can make positive impact, have positive influences in the world around you, regardless of your degree, nursing, accounting, anything in between, IT, education, and whatnot.
I love that statement. I think what we see now, and something you've pointed out to me, was you're going to transform and reinvent yourself multiple times throughout your professional career. The days of working someplace for 30 years, those are gone. And that rounded education gives you the skill sets to do that. 5 and 10-year business plans don't exist anymore.
That's right.
That's right. Wonderful. Now, I watched your TEDx talk, which I thought was incredibly interesting. And your talk was about the human value of a quality mind. Expand on that, if you would.
Yeah, so my TEDx talk was serving and leading with a quality mindset. Part of my educational background and professional background is in the field of quality management. That was my first college degree in quality management from Fox Valley Technical College, where back then the focus was primarily learning how to provide great quality of works, particularly when it comes to products being manufactured. There was the head focus of that, especially in the early days of quality. If you heard of thought leaders like Edward Deming, Joseph Juran, and others, Philip Crosby, those were focusing in manufacturing sector and later automotive, and especially with the influence of the quality movement in Japan, how we can bring that to North America, particularly in the United States. But later on, other individuals started realizing there's a quality of service as well. So when I was going to college, we were focusing on quality of products and quality of services. And later on in my life, I realized, well, those of us who are working with people, it is important for us to focus on the quality of what we are doing for them as well. And that requires a mindset. Quality is about meeting people's need. Quality is about meeting people's expectation, meeting being compliant. But individuals who count on us as change makers, as transformers, as influencers, they have a level of expectation. Not necessarily demand, but a level of expectation based on what we promise. We put ourselves out there, we promise, I'm so and so, I can do this and that for people around me based on my profession. The quality of that. So it is important for us to focus on what we are delivering and whether it meets people's expectation, whether it meets their needs, it meets their desires, depending on the field of work we are. Whether we are in public sector, private sector, for profit, not for profit, regardless of what we are doing, we got to think about providing great quality of services, great quality of delivery, great quality of production, great quality of interaction, great quality of relationship for the benefits of those we serve, but ultimately for our benefits too. Because, reputation is nothing like it, right? So having a quality mindset is having that in mind, that I'm set out to do good, to do something that is beneficial for others around me.
One of the examples you gave in your talk was the customer experience of customer service when you call, and the impact that can have and the ripples that it can have, correct? So go ahead.
Yeah, basically, we all have experienced customer service at some point. Something we buy for something we need, and many businesses in the corporate sector, obviously, have customer service department. Some of them outsource it or not. But we each have those experiences where, whether it's in person, or over the phone, where we either have a wonderful experience with someone or a group of people, with an organization, with a business, or we have something terrible where we just like, I don't want to deal with those people anymore. I want to change phone company. I want to change insurance company. I don't want to go to that hospital anymore. I'm not going to that restaurant anymore. Each of us have experienced that. One of the things I put emphasis on with my presentation and whenever I get to talk about quality, when we are in a position of being the one providing service, how do others respond to us? Now, obviously, not perfect. I've made mistakes and I've received complaints about, portions of something I do. Right? But what do we do with that information when we get it? And that's where it is important. Quality can make a difference. Having a quality mindset makes a big difference. Now, we are set out to do good at the beginning. Remember when I was working back in Haiti at some point, there was a lot of focus, and I was working in a manufacturing company, trying to detect quality at the production stage, before it gets out to the customer. Now, but if it gets out to the customer, what do we do about it? How do we fix it? How do we arrange? So quality mindset is all of that too. Just like making sure we set out to do what is meeting the expectation of our service recipients. But if things are not up to their level of standard or expectations or needs or requirements, how are we going to address that? How are we going to adjust to that situation and make the experience better and enhance the future experiences for them? So that is very important. That's why I take the analogy of customer service. We all know of someone or ourselves where we call somewhere or we go to a customer service desk where our problems are handled satisfactorily, we're happy, we're excited. But we also have those instances where we just like, we were not happy to begin with. You make that call or you go to that desk, and then it turns out it was because it was not properly handled. So that usually is as a result of people not having a quality mindset, not seeing the big picture. What are the impacts of me not handling someone's complaint or someone's dissatisfaction? What does that mean if I don't handle it properly? What does that mean even if it's a simple, I am sorry, I don't order that out of my mouth? What does that mean? What are the potential impact of that? And especially nowadays, with the advance of technology, social media, or platforms that allows for comments, we all who are called leaders, who are called service providers, we gotta be really careful. We gotta be mindful about how people respond and how the words can spread out. Because they can reach a point where it's uncontrollable and it's difficult to address. And sometimes there are some scandals or issues that happen, they get popularized on social media and whatnot, or let's just say the internet overall. There's no turning back. So what we do is, how do we adjust, how do we adapt to those situations and turn things around for the better?
It's, I remember the Tylenol, when there was something with tainted Tylenol, and I thought they handled that extraordinarily well because they stepped up and they pulled everything off the shelves and they came out and took ownership. And that, I think, is a big deal. Isn't that not right? And nobody's perfect, and some things are not going to go well. But what do you do when it doesn't go well?
That's right. What do you do? That's a big question. There was a colleague of mine who used to work together, used to tell students about their own reputation, their personal reputation. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? And very often I reframe that questions in other circumstances. How do we want to be remembered? What do we want to be known for? Is it for the good things that we do or for the things we don't handle properly? Same thing for our organizations. regardless of the type of organization, a church, a business, a nonprofit organization, whatever it is, a sports team. How do we handle the situations that went the way we were not expecting or we did not wish for? How do we want to be known? Do we want to be known as those individuals who don't handle it well? Do we want to be known as the people who don't do anything about it? That's also an important aspect of having a quality mindset. Thinking about the future reputation, future of opportunities. If we want to continue to be impactful, we want to continue to be beneficial for others around us. We gotta think about doing what is proper quality. We will make mistakes, but when those mistakes happen, what do you do about it?
Exactly. And Barry, one of the things you did in your talk that I thought was amazing was you talked about the human element of quality is building and sustaining relationships. And you have 4 elements that you teach. Tell us about that.
So the 4 elements that I focused on was vision, empathy, commitment, and adaptability. I can share a few details about
Please.
Vision, without going to the definition of visions, we all understand, that's a picture of the future, the picture of a destination. One of my favorite authors was Dr. Stephen Covey. And I said that in my TEDx, and I'm going to repeat it somewhat if I can remember it. But the principle, he has part of his 7 habits. One of them, I believe it's the second one, is begin with the end in mind. It's a decision. Begin with the end in mind. Having that mental picture of your destination. What is it? Where is it that you want to go? What's the end result that you are trying to accomplish? Having that vision that to be able to see. One of my mentors or somebody I look up to a lot, his name is Mr. Alonzo Kelly. He does a lot of professional development programs and events, and he speaks on that. One of the simple thing, I think people may see that simple, but it's really deep, that he always said, see it before you see it. And very often, whenever I see that he's posting on LinkedIn or the social media platform, or I hear him talking at an event or watch his videos, I'm thinking seeing it before you see it is really having that vision. When we are thinking about quality, having a quality mindset is projecting or thinking ahead of time about what is the positive result that we're trying to see. Now, our vision can also be, if we're not careful, just like it's a vision where things are going the way we are not wanting, where we don't wish. So I see quality mindset as something positive, something we need to practice every day, emulate. If we are cooking for our kids, in our mind, it has to be something they are going to enjoy.
Yes.
Something that's going to be good for their health, but also something that's going to be fulfilling in terms of experience, family experience. That's for those of us who are parents. But the things that we are doing for others. So that's the beginning of relationship. When people start dating, when people start courting each other, it's all about vision too. Where do you want that relationship to go? Same thing for those of us who are service providers in education, in healthcare, in religious settings, in corporate settings, in public sector. What is it? What is the vision that we have? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want it to look like? What do we want them to say about their experiences with us? That starts with a vision. With the end in mind. I want to say the end that we all want to see happen is the satisfaction of the people we are serving. The second piece that I focused on was the empathy. Without going to the definition, we can understand what empathy is. But it's basically, as many before me have summed it up before, is putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes. What if it was me? What would it be like for me? How would I respond? How would I feel about that? And in my presentation, in other presentation, I have quoted Dr. Marian, the late Dr. Marian Jelly on that. People will always remember the way you make them feel.
Yes.
So how do we make feel? The students that I work with, for in upward bound math and science program, with the services that my team and I were putting together for them, how do I make them feel? And what if they feel in a way that is not what I was looking for, what I was hoping? What do I do about it? How do I change it? Empathy allows us to sit back, revisit, reevaluate, reassess, however we want to call it, and then making sure what we have for the vision to begin with, we assess it. Now, in the quality principles, there's plan, do, check, act, the PDCA cycle. We are planning as part of our vision, but we check, we evaluate. One of the ways to evaluate meaningfully, significantly, impactfully, is by having the sense of empathy, putting ourselves in the shoes of our customers, putting ourselves in the shoes of our patients, putting ourselves in the shoes of the people who visit our places of worship, putting ourselves in the shoes, of our customers, our patients, the recipients of our services. Empathy allows us. It is very important to be successful servant leaders to have that sense of empathy. The next one is commitment. Now, the way I see commitment is having our heart in it, our full mind in it. We are in it not just for a show. We are fully committed. We are dedicated to what we are doing, to the work that is assigned to us, to the initiative that we set ourselves to do. And that's the way I see commitment. We stick to it. Commitment in athletics, in education, in every sector that you can think of. In order for us to have a good quality mindset, to help people have better experiences, we have to be committed to do that, connecting that with our vision, with our sense of empathy, and then we move forward for the benefits of business. And then the last one is adaptability. Well, we know the world is rapidly changing. So we can't necessarily stop the changes that are happening around us. That's the nature. The world continues to evolve. Things are differently. People react differently to the changes of the world. So how do we adapt? How do we adapt? How do we readjust? How do we reframe? One of the things I always like to see in sports is when a team pull back. I see that a lot in basketball and soccer. You pull back just so you can restart over. You launch the ball. Set the game. We set the pace. You will see a point guard in basketball do that very often. You will see, the top midfielders would do that, or defenders would do that in soccer, and to a certain extent in hockey and other sports. We set the game. We set the tone of the game in order to adjust to the new circumstances that are around us. That is one of the things that I can say. There's a whole lot more, that can be said about adaptability. But in the context of having a quality mindset in everything that we do, we have to be willing to adjust. We have to be willing to adapt to the new realities. The COVID situation has taught many of us very, very often we're not comfortable being on screen, on the camera. Well, we realize it's a beneficial tool. Well, that's what we got to do now. But until we realize, oh, wait a minute, it's not because that's all we have to do, but it is important. It's efficient in some cases, etc. So turn things around for the better. That's one of the ways I see the concept of adaptability in terms of us being leaders, in terms of us being servant leaders, service providers to the ones around us.
I love the fact that you spent so much time on adaptability, Garry. One of the things I see when I was in the corporate world is we've always done it this way. Well, this is the best practice. Okay, which is a point in time. It's not forever. And it's finding what's the next practice? What's going to differentiate us? Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. The practices that we call best practices, they will change. There are things we used to do right there in 2020, 2015. Well, Right now, they're obsolete. We've got to look at things differently. We got to look at our practices. We got to revisit. Again, part of the principles of quality is to reevaluate, to check the things, to the standard that we used to have. Do they still make sense? Are they still relevant? Do people still care about that? Is this the way we function now? Is this what's important now? Is it what's significant for people? Is it what they care about, regardless of our sectors? 50 years ago, people in healthcare, particularly nurses and doctors and other healthcare professionals, they probably didn't need to know much about technology as part of their work. But now, so many things are digitized. Healthcare professionals need to have a certain level of computer application skills. So that's important. The world is changing. It's evolving around us. What do we do? How do we adapt? I remember many people were opposed to churches in the mid-2010s. When some young people or young church members would be like, let's have a Facebook account for our church. Well, guess what? The pandemic showed us people can't go to church. What do? Many churches nowadays, or other, I use church for Christian denomination, but I think other religious sectors also, they realize the importance of having a YouTube account, of having a Facebook account to go live for worship, to reach more people. That's one of the examples. People were hesitant about that because, it's social media. But when we realize we are in circumstances, we are forced to do it. What's best is, let's not wait until we are forced to use, to adapt ourselves to the new circumstances around us. It's very important. Now, I'm saying that it's not like I'm not guilty of it. I was very opposed to shopping online until I realized, well, that's the way to go. Actually, it's not that bad.
Exactly.
Like that. So I'm telling myself, turn into all that too.
It's meeting the people where they are. And that's changed. Out of the example you gave about the medical 50 years ago, it's like Dr. Hess said in the beginning, a 5-year-old in 20 years, the world's going to be very, very different.
Yeah.
And so what is common today is certainly not going to be common 20 years from now.
That's right.
So, and growing that or developing that, I think in school, you said in your talk, you got to do this at the very early levels. Now, colleges understand it, and you understand it, and you're making that adjustment, but we need to get that further down. That's got to start earlier, correct?
Exactly. Very early, teach young people, look, things have changed, let's do it differently. Now, young people, it's often thought that they are willing, or they are more apt to, or they're more open to changes. Well, that's because it's new to them. But at the same time, there are some concepts, it's best that we address them, or we teach them certain skills at the early age. But also one of those is just like, help them recognize things are not going to be the way you know them now. They will change as you grow. And then you got to be willing to that. So it's really at the early age. Back home, what I'm calling home now, in the sense of my philosophy or approach, is when I was growing up in Haiti, in the Haitian community, there's a proverb that says, if you want to shape up a tree, you got to start when that tree is really young.
Right.
If you want to make sure that tree grows up to be straight up, to go straight, you got to shape it up when it's young, because when it's really old and mature, it's too late for that. So teaching those skills, those values to young people is very important at the early age. Teaching them technology, teaching them also human skills, human relation skills, so they can be prepared. Also, we are living in a world that is very interconnected. It's becoming increasingly more and more interconnected, and I know I'm redundant with that statement right there, but it's to put emphasis on it. It's to let them know, look, you are going to interact with people who are different than you, who see things different than you, who learn things differently, who believe differently, who look different, who have different approach, etc. So basically, to teach young people, look, this is the type of exposure that you need to be prepared for in the
Mhm.
workplace and beyond the workplace.
It becomes it's a more it's a more inclusive model,
Yes.
correct? Outstanding. Now, I love these four elements, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to them again: vision, empathy, commitment, and adaptability. Those are the things that are necessary to move forward, and not just in your job today, but in your life. Isn't that
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Beyond your career, beyond the workplace, uh, these are things that can be practiced and emulated in every aspect of life.
Wow. So, of all the things you've done, Gary, all the exceptional things you've accomplished, what's the one thing you're most proud of?
So that's something I often struggle with. And not to say that I have so many and I can't pick from, but it's just more of a matter of what's more impactful in terms of how I reach or I touch people. And I think about it, and I think my work in education has been what I'm really proud of. I like to bring some new experiences with to students, whether it's college students that I work with or high school students. Help put them through some new experiences, like visit something new with them, or connecting them to someone or some resources that they are not familiar with. Help open their eyes. Back in 2019, I was working with a group of students for Model United Nations here at Marian University. And we had some circumstances that forced us to do things differently for that semester. And usually we take students to conferences and whatnot, but that particular semester it was not possible. And I decided let's find opportunities. We are in Wisconsin. We're not too far from Chicago. Well, let's explore opportunities of taking this, having the students meet with diplomats that are working in the Chicago area. And that's what we did, just to illustrate some of the concepts we're seeing in the class, which was more of a global leadership, global affairs class. And that's one of the things that I'm using as an example of what I do in terms of impact on students. It's something different. Get to meet with a top diplomat in Australia who's working in the United States in the Midwest, and folks from China, in other places we were able to take them on that particular occasion. And that's one of the examples, doing something different, something that is not done in the classroom for the students. And that's part, this is more general, well, but this is what I like, finding something that the students are not used to and expose them to it and give them an opportunity to take it wherever they would like in life. Doing so, again, I'm repeating myself by saying the things that I'm most proud of in terms of what I do, it's in higher education for sure, by exposing high school students, college students to opportunities that they are unfamiliar. Something that is not part of their daily life is what I'm doing.
Exactly. I love that. So we're just about out of time, Gary. What last thoughts you want to leave with the viewers around the world?
I'm always thinking about the future. We can't control the future. We can't predict it. But I like to encourage high school students, college students, young professionals, and everyone I get to interact with me. Life will come with struggles. Life will come with obstacles. One of the best things we can do is to find how we can turn our obstacles, our challenges, and turn them into success stories. But that's after we use our mind, our heart to adjust to circumstances, to re-strategize, to sit back, to strategize, to execute our plans, because we got a plan, to connect with the right resources, and to make something big happen in our respective sphere of influence.
It's excellent. Now, after people see this, they're going to want to get a hold of you. How do they reach you?
The easiest way right now is on social media, particularly LinkedIn. I encourage folks to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's one of the ways. Or to look me up, there are people who are called Garry Moise. Some of them are Haitians. Most of them are Haitians, if I best of my knowledge. But I can be found on the web by Googling me. But LinkedIn is for sure the top one. I'm on other social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook as well. But I can be, my information, my personal information, not personal information, but my professional information can also be found on the website of Marian University in Wisconsin.
Outstanding. Folks, you want to get a hold of this man. He sees where we want to go. We may not know where we're going to go, but where we hope to get there and how to get there. As I said, we're just about out of time. I want to thank Garry one more time for showing us this is how you build a future-ready generation. We know what the world is today. It's not going to be the case down the road. With people like Garry, well, I'm confident. I am very confident that future leaders will be well prepared. Now, you can see the show on my podcast, which is Life Altering Events, on my YouTube channel, which is called Frank Zakari, and on Parade Deck. I will send links to Garry, and he will post it wherever he posts his information around the world. If you use my YouTube channel, please subscribe. And let me leave you with this. None of us are in this alone, and the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Garry Moise showed us where many of those rocks are. Join us again next week. We'll go into another life altering again. Garry, thank you again so much.
Greg, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. And I present my greetings to all of the viewers of your program.
Thank you, sir.